If you'd like to get engaged with the rest of the Doki Doki community, I highly recommend you download this app called Amino. I recently decided to partner up with Amino because this app houses quite possibly the largest selection of topics I've ever seen in a social media network. You can find an Amino for literally anything. Specific video games, TV shows, everything from paranormal talks to anime discussions. Once you join a particular Amino, you've got all the freedom in the world to browse a curated feed of fan-created content, artwork, things like that, and you can also chat with members of any community using text, voice chat, and a pretty neat feature they're working on called avatar chat. The more you're active, the more you can level up your Amino reputation, which is probably more addicting than it should be. Find me in the DDLC Amino and send me a message. I'm probably the easiest to reach on this app, so just send me whatever you want, within reason. Alright, cool. Let's get started. Doki Doki Literature Club is a massively effective horror game, wearing the disguise of a visual novel dating sim. It's also one of the most spoiler-sensitive games I think I've ever even played to this day. But luckily, since this is a mod showcase, and the mod is only out in the demo version as I'm typing the script, we should be in good shape for spoilers because there's really nothing to spoil yet. This is less of a formal review and more of an is this for you type video. Doki Doki Literature Club is a visual novel first and foremost, so to analyze it as anything other than that would very obviously be a huge disservice to what it tries to accomplish. I'm going to approach this review by delineating 3 critical bullet points that I believe are the most important when it comes to visual novel style games like DDLC, which is writing skills, aesthetic presentation, and believability. And I'll dive more into what that last point means a little later, but right now let's try and tackle these in order. I'm not much for the standard 1 to 10 numeric review scale, so I'm going to take a more traditional approach and just grade these criteria the old-fashioned way using letter grades. Our Time is essentially everything you'd expect from an actual dating simulator, rather than just a horror game hiding behind the curtain. The mod allows you to access an exclusive Monika romance route created by the mod author. The mod is set a few weeks into the future and acts as a sort of memory wipe for all other characters, forcing them to forget all the drama Monika caused them in the actual game. Plot-wise, it's a pretty simple solution to everything. Everyone just wakes up one day and all their problems have been dissolved into thin air. Yeah, it's a simple way to solve things, but that's not necessarily a problem. Just some fairly odd parents, I wish everything was back to normal type shit. It doesn't take anything away from the mod, and I think it's actually kinda cool that the mod author considered bridging the gap between the canon and the mod by reminding the player that although forgiven, all those nasty events in the game certainly did happen, even if only Monika remembers them. From what I've seen, the dialogue between Monika and your character is pretty on par with what the game would usually offer. Monika's dialogue in particular really does a good job replicating her sophisticated demeanor. She talks the way you would expect Monika would, sharing a lot of her mannerisms, and there's even some clever references to other lines and happenings in the actual game as well. Now there are a few edits I would be tempted to make in case they don't get polished out in the final mod, but a lot of these are largely only to do with minor issues like grammar, misspelling, sentence structure, things like that. They don't happen often, but as I was playing through the demo, they were sometimes enough to take me out of the immersion, if only for a second. These are all easy fixes in my opinion, and what it takes away from the immersion is only minimal at best. Half the time, they only become a problem if the player actually focuses in on them and really starts picking for errors. The plot itself is continuous and simple enough to follow. Each day consists of little dates and experiences you and Monika share together, and as I said before, it does a really great job of keeping track of character traits discovered in the original games, such as the MC's appreciation for anime and Monika's vegan diet. The only real problems I can find are extremely insignificant, and I really do hope the author takes a little bit of time to polish out these instances because I think it could really end up being one of the best mods we ever see for this game. I give it a B, and an impressively high B at that. Moving on to presentation and art style. I don't even think I'm allowed to say anything even remotely bad about what this guy has done. And even if I wanted to say something bad, I couldn't think of a single thing worth mentioning. Holy mother of shit, dude. This is the first DDLC mod I've seen to include this much extra scenery, and still somehow look like a real addition to the game. The art is mind-blowingly impressive. From subtle particle effects emanating from the television glow to the new original outfits drawn for characters, everything just looks so good. It looks good, but that's not even the most important part in my opinion. Not only do the additional scenes and backgrounds look amazing, but they look believable. They really look as though they belong in the universe of the game. It takes time to develop your own style, especially when it comes to original art like this. But being able to study another style to the point where you can duplicate it almost perfectly takes a crazy amount of dedication. I'm not going to say much for those that haven't completed the demo, but there's a pretty emotional scene with Monika towards the end involving a train ride back to your house. And yes, the train you're sitting in has been drawn up by the artist. This image is not in the game, and like most of the new locations in the mod, this was a completely original addition. I can't give this anything below a solid A, just because of the dedication it has to take to not only emulate an artist's style, but take that and generate completely new environments, outfits, and content that was not in the game using that same art style. If you play this mod for only one reason, please play it for the scenery. It looks beautiful. And now we're getting into the confusing stuff that I said I would elaborate more on toward the second half of the video. Okay, so part of what made Doki Doki Literature Club so jarring was the concept of program sentience. There eventually became a point in the game where Monika made it overtly clear that she wanted nothing to do with whoever your character was, but fell in love directly with the person on the other side of the screen. Now this played really well into the game's horror factor, but also kind of teased the idea that it is Monika's sentience after all that makes her the only logical candidate for the player's affection. And in the mod, there are instances where this is directly referenced. To highlight an example here, Monika talks about how she wishes the mod author included more dialogue options so that she could tell what you, as in the player you, were thinking and saying more easily. Instead, you and Monika have to communicate using the game's MC as a sort of messenger. This in itself, once again, is of course not a problem because it's naturally the way that communication would go in the game. But there are a few scenes in the demo, and much more to come, I'm hoping, that involve really tangible situations. Ordering food at a restaurant, snuggling up with Monika to watch a TV show late at night, and other interactions that all seem to be more for the character than the player. The emotions the MC displays during certain points give the character a lot of dimension, which isn't something you'd expect for someone that's just supposed to be a connecting point between you and Monika, and not much else. Again, not a bad thing, it just depends on what type of experience you're looking to get out of the mod. There seem to be just as many players wanting to experience a virtual date with Monika themselves, as there are players that seem to be just fine sitting back and enjoying role-playing as a character who is supposed to be in a relationship with Monika. It's hard for me to explain without citing certain examples, and thus spoiling the mod, but you should download it and give it a go. I think you'll see what I mean when I say the MC comes off as a little two-dimensional. Even though Monika does overtly declare that she's interested in you and not the character, it can still be hard to discern which version of you certain moments in the mod were written for, the character you or the actual you. I really don't have a letter grade for this one, but it was just something I noticed. I don't think it was a problem for my personal playthrough, but I can totally see where immersing yourself in the mod might become difficult, depending on what you want out of it. Personally, I'd give this one a B, but that's an extremely tentative grade because I think this is one of those subjects where everyone is just going to be on a different place than anyone else. And that's totally fine. Our Time is the first mod championed by redditor SovietSpartan that actually allows the player to find out what it would be like dating Monika, as opposed to the rest of the DDLC cast. The dialogue and sentence structure may seem a little awkwardly written at times, but any problems with this are effectively resolved by the gorgeous scenery and original art content made for the mod. If you're looking for a final letter grade that sums up my opinions on the mod, I guess I'd give it a B, but my opinion should mean precisely dick to you. please download this thing and at least give it a test drive. And to the author of the mod, I hope I'm not putting any pressure on you or anything, man. I just really loved what I saw from this mod, and just had the urge to tell people about it, because this is nothing short of extraordinary what you've made here. Download link is of course in the description, and if you could spend this much time with one of the 4 girls, tell me who it would be. Would you still choose Monika over the rest, or is there someone else that has your heart? My utmost thanks for anyone tuning in right now, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.